Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I'm going to show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, as well as highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing one of the October 2024 PlayStation Plus games, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, the cutesy visual novel game that, despite its appearance, packs a heavy psychological horror punch. Doki Doki Literature Club originally came out in 2017 as a free visual novel game, and quickly gained a reputation for its disturbing content and unexpected twists. And in 2021, the game was re-released as Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, adding in some additional side stories and quality of life improvements. Now, before I go any further, regardless of how innocent it looks, this is a horror game. And that's made clear before you even start the game with multiple disclaimers and an optional list of content warnings, including depression, self-harm, abuse, and suicide, among many others. If that sounds like a deal breaker, then you'll probably want to skip this one, but since the game is upfront about it, I'll be talking a little bit about the game's twist with as few plot spoilers as possible. And I won't be showing any footage from after that point either. You start the game as a high school student who's been coaxed into joining the school's literature club by childhood friend Sayori. And it's there where you meet the club's three other female members, Natsuki, Yuri, and Monika. You spend time getting to know the four girls better by talking to them about your interests and trying to impress them by exchanging poetry as a group. And each of the girls fits into a set of anime cliches that will be all too familiar to those who have seen enough slice-of-life anime series. So let's talk about the gameplay, and I'm using the term gameplay pretty loosely here because there isn't much traditional gameplay to speak of, considering that this is a visual novel game. You'll mostly be reading a lot of text scrolling across the screen as you follow the story, which, for the first 2 or 3 hours, plays like a typical dating simulator. You do get to pick some keywords when crafting poems, though you never actually get to read your own work, and every now and then you'll be presented with some decisions that I'm not entirely sure matter in the long run. But the best way to describe it would be to say that it's like being told you can sit anywhere on a roller coaster. Your experience is going to be largely the same no matter where you sit because there's already a structure in place. Though it is worth noting that the game does have a few different potential endings. The biggest issue I had with Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, though, is how long the build-up is to get to the game's signature twist. If you're a fan of dating simulators or visual novels, the first act of the game might not bother you as much as it did me, but there is so much text to get through, and despite my loving games like Phoenix Wright and reading physical books on a fairly regular basis, there's a point where it starts to get tiring because you're essentially watching text crawl across still images, and with a fairly limited set of audio tracks on loop, next to no sound effects, and minimal input needed from the controller, you need a lot of patience. Fortunately, you can sort of keep things moving along by utilizing the auto text feature so you're not clicking after every line of dialogue, and the default pacing was pretty well timed, but it didn't change the fact that I essentially only needed to touch my controller maybe 10 or 15 times in the first 3.5 hours or so. Now, the reason most people talk about Doki Doki Literature Club Plus so much is because of the psychological horror twist that I keep on mentioning, and that really kicks in at the end of the first act. You'll get a few small glimpses into the fact that not everything is as it seems beforehand, such as the game presenting you with a computer screen filled with video game assets when you quit to the main menu, and some of the characters talk about or hint at having social anxiety, depression, or eating disorders when you're getting to know them, but most of it is subtle and not the focus at that point in the game. When the psychological part of the game kicks in though, it's done very, very well. The game starts to mess with your expectations, and without spoiling anything specific, things get dark. Really dark. But here's the thing, the horror payoff, as well executed as it is, just takes way too long to get to in my opinion, and by the time that moment came along, I had already felt like I was mentally checked out. That said, I'll give credit where credit is due for taking the risk of turning something as benign as a dating simulator and turning it into what it ended up being, because it's not often you see a game presented as one thing and it ends up completely defying the expectations of the genre. In the end, Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is a game that I think a lot of people could enjoy, but it just didn't click with me personally. The horror elements are well executed and the genre twist is bold, but the slow build-up, lack of meaningful choices, and the overwhelming amount of text left me feeling more disengaged than anything else. If you're a fan of visual novels or enjoy games that take hard turns into the horror genre, then you might want to give this one a shot though, especially since Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is free for PlayStation Plus subscribers at the moment, in addition to the original version of the game still being free to play through Steam, so you can try it out without spending a dime. But if you're like me and need a bit more engagement in a video game, then this one might not be for you. As always though, this is just my opinion. If you've just joined the Literature Club, or if you've already reached the twist, let me know in the comments what you thought of Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.